Hello everyone, it's great to walk with you again. Today, while we're walking, I'll summarize a story called After 20 Years by O. Henry. This is one of the short stories with the most unexpected endings in literary history, yet it is deeply moving and rich in humanity. Promise from the Past. The story begins on a dark night with drizzling rain and a cold wind on a quiet street in New York. A police officer is on patrol, moving with an imposing air, his keen eyes observing every corner. Suddenly, he sees a man standing in the shadows of a closed shop doorway, an unlighted cigar in his mouth. The officer approaches him. The man speaks up immediately to explain his presence. "It's all right, officer. I'm just waiting for a friend. It's an appointment made 20 years ago." The man explains that 20 years ago, at this very spot, which was a restaurant back then, he and his best friend, Jimmy Wells, had dinner together. Before parting ways to seek their fortunes, they swore that exactly 20 years later, no matter what their circumstances or how far they had to travel, they would return here to meet each other again. Two paths in life. The man waiting is Bob. He proudly tells the officer about his success out west. When Bob strikes a match to light his cigar, the light reveals a sharp face, a small scar near his eye, and notably a tie pin set with a large diamond. Bob appears as a wealthy, seasoned, and confident man. Bob speaks of Jimmy with great respect. Jimmy was the finest chap in the world, but he was a bit of a homebody. He was a sincere, plodding kind of guy and is probably still around New York. As for me, I had to fight hard out west to make my fortune. The officer listens attentively, asks a few more questions about the appointment, and then says goodbye, continuing his patrol through the rain. The arrival of Jimmy. About 20 minutes later, a tall man in a long overcoat hurries towards Bob. "Is that you, Bob?" the newcomer asks. "Is that you, Jimmy Wells?" Bob cries out in joy. They grasp hands with deep emotion. The newcomer asks Bob about his success and invites him to a different place to chat more comfortably. Bob enthusiastically shares his years of hustling out west and the wealth he has attained. They walk together under the dim streetlights of the night. The shock under the light. As they stopped in front of a drugstore brilliant with electric lights, Bob turns to look directly at his friend's face. Suddenly, Bob stops and releases his arm. "You're not Jimmy Wells. 20 years is a long time, but it doesn't change a Roman nose to a pug." The tall man smiles coldly. "It sometimes changes a good man into a criminal." He informs Bob that he is actually Silky Bob, a criminal wanted desperately by the Chicago police nationwide. The fateful letter and a stunning conclusion. The tall man was actually a plainclothes detective. Before taking Bob to the station, he hands him a small note. It was a letter from someone named Jimmy. Bob opens the letter, his hands trembling. It reads, "Bob, I was at the appointed place on time. When you struck the match to light your cigar, I saw it was the face of the man wanted in Chicago. Somehow I couldn't do it myself, arrest my old friend. So I went around and got a plainclothesman to do the job. Jimmy." It turns out the officer on patrol at the beginning was Jimmy Wells. He kept his promise. He was there on time, but he could not betray his badge and his duty as a man of the law. Key takeaways from the story. The conflict between friendship and duty. The story poses a difficult moral question. Would you choose your friend or justice? Jimmy chose both by fulfilling his promise to meet, yet still upholding the law. 2. The change in people. 20 years is long enough to turn two best friends into enemies on opposite sides of the line, one a protector of the law, the other a breaker of it. 3. The price of success. Bob has diamonds and money, but must live in hiding. Jimmy is just an ordinary policeman, but lives with a clear conscience. And with that, our walk ends here. Thank you for walking with me to the end of the journey, and see you again soon in another adventure with so many more amazing books and stories. Goodbye for now.